Chad Hasty Show, News Talk, 95.1 FM, 790 AM, KFYO. Phone lines are open at 770-5790, toll-free, 1-800-687-0790. An issue that has been popping up here locally in the news, I guess you could call it a dispute between West Carlisle and the EMS service that's been provided there, and also the EMS service from UMC. And the dispute is over coverage area. And joining us in studio, they had a town hall meeting this past Friday. We wanted to get more information. That way everyone can kind of know what's going on. The story, again, has been popping up here and there in the news. And joining us in studio right now is the fire and EMS chief for West Carlisle, Tim Smith. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. Okay, tell folks what's going on and really kind of I guess maybe some background information on this.
Oh, sure will, Chad. About 18 months ago, a couple of local hospitals had some issues the way EMS was being delivered inside Lubbock County, particularly inside the city limits. So those hospitals approached the City Council of Lubbock and said, we really want you to investigate and look at the way EMS is being delivered. So the City Council did their due diligence and formed a steering committee to investigate and look at the way EMS being delivered. They then come up with a series of key performance indicators, metrics, if you would, and measures that indicated if you want to deliver EMS care inside the city limits, you need to follow these standards. It includes response time, patient satisfaction, training issues, several different measures, and along with the 5-year plan. That's all good. So the city council created a formal committee, a standing committee, headed by the fire chief of Lubbock, and composed of representatives from all the hospitals and UMC EMS, which is good too. So they decided that they were going to make sure that the EMS was delivered according to these standards. They're going to hold their feet to the fire on that, and so far they've done a really good job doing that. So that was around April. On May the 1st, West Carlisle received a letter saying because EMS is the preferred provider inside the city limits of Lubbock, we're no longer going to be able to perform EMS services inside the city limits of Lubbock. Now, our fire station is located just north of 4th Street on Inler Avenue, or FM 179, and that is 2 blocks from the city limits.
Right.
90% of our call volume originated inside the city limits of Lubbock. So we're not backed by a municipality. We don't have a city that says, here's your budget, here's what you're going to pay for your employees for the year. So we're call volume dependent. Lubbock County Hospital District pays us a stipend for each call and each patient we transport, each call that we run, plus we get to collect insurance from billing efforts that we do. That's how we pay our staff. And we've done that successfully since June of 2001. So what we were asking is, are we going to be able to run calls inside the city limits of Lubbock? And unequivocally, the answer was no. However, since May the 1st, we've been dispatched to about 30 calls inside the city limits of Lubbock. So how is this? They tell you you're not going to have EMS runs, but you do still have a few EMS runs. What has changed? So nothing's changed really. They get busy. They run out of trucks. Sometimes the call volume does exceed the amount of trucks. It's really not UMC's fault. We don't mind doing it. We want to continue doing it, but we want to continue doing it on a full-time basis. We want to do it on the quote-unquote slow days as well as the busy days. I think it's only fair.
What's been the issue with the city or with the county? Whose decision has it been to cut y'all off from the other days where it is slower?
Well, I believe that lies solely on the administration of UMC EMS. The city of Lubbock put forth the standards, made UMC EMS the preferred provider inside the city, so they took it upon themselves to say, we're going to run all those calls. Unless we're busy, then we're going to need you to run those calls. And again, they come outside the county, outside the city, and they run calls in the city. But what folks need to remember is those ambulances, both West Carlisle, Wolfers, Shallowater, New Deal, Idalou, and UMC EMS is all paid for by Lubbock County Hospital District taxes. That 11 cents you see on your 11 cents per 100 you see on your tax bill every year. Now, that goes for indigent care, the care for the needy, those that can't care for themselves, as well as care of the sick and injured. That's where that money comes from. So folks inside the city pay the same amount of taxes as folks outside the city, and we out in the county, outside the city, believe that we're not receiving the same level of services that those folks inside the city are receiving.
Has there been any issue where where y'all have a truck closer to either an accident or to an emergency situation than what UMC has a truck closer to, and there's been conflict there? Or maybe y'all weren't able to respond because UMC said, no, you may be closer, but we're sending our truck.
Absolutely. That, the enforcement went enacted May the 1st. I kept my guys on shift until May the 10th. And that's when I had to unfortunately tell them today's our last day because, the funds are running out. The supply of money can only last so long. And so in that time period, we had at least 6 calls that we were unequivocally closer to. However, we were not dispatched to. Now, there is some misconception out there about these magic response times. In the city's standards, they have priority 1, 2, and 3 calls. Priority 1 calls are the most life-threatening. That's when we need care at the bedside quickly, or at the patient's side very quickly. The standard that the city has set is that you have to be at the side of the patient 8 minutes and 59 seconds for priority 1 calls from the time the caller calls 911. Priority 2 is 11:59, and priority 3 is just shy of 15 minutes. So we believe we can meet those standards. In January of 2017, earlier this year, we did meet with the UMC hospital officials, and they indicated that there was some possibility that we could meet those standards. I was asked about those standards. There was a couple of points that I had contention with that I did not want to do, including possibly posting in my truck, or so my ambulance crews would have to sit in the truck on the street corner, and you see that all over town. That's how they position themselves strategically all over town, and that's good. But my ambulance would have to do that 24 hours a day. And to me, that's not fair. It's not conducive to a good work environment, and we really try to take care of our people out there. The other measures we believe we can meet. However, we were never given that opportunity.
Interesting. When we come back, we're going to continue our discussion on this and then find out what resolution there may be in the future. UMC with a statement out yesterday saying, hey, everything's fine, everything's good. We'll get your opinion on that and also discuss the issue further here on the Chad Hasty Show, News Talk, KFYO. Back on the Chad Hasty Show, News Talk, 95.1 FM, 790 AM, KFYO, visiting with the Fire and EMS Chief for West Carlisle, Tim Smith, joining us here on the program, talking about this back and forth between UMC and who's going to, again, to me, this should be a simple issue. If it is all about putting safety first and if you want to say customer first, the citizens first, it should be, if West Carlisle, volunteer EMS, if y'all are closer, hey, you should be able to go and pick up the person, a block away instead of UMC driving in 10 blocks away. To me, that's what makes common sense.
Well, we completely agree. And, at the end of the day, what we want to happen is to make sure that the citizen, the taxpayer, the patient is taken care of. And ultimately that's our end goal. And we want to come to a common agreement, to a resolution to all these issues we have out there and make sure that the patient is taken care of. I
want to read you a statement that UMC Senior Vice President said yesterday. Jeff Hill, he said he wants to reassure the public their EMS is capable of meeting all the standards without putting any lives at risk. He says, I do want to assure citizens they will receive an ambulance if they call 911 in need of EMS service, whether they're in the city or county. They will receive an ambulance and no one will lose service through the process. He said UMC EMS is capable and willing to meet the standards, and that's what we're intending to do. Do you agree with that, or do you say, well, of course, everyone's going to receive. This is about timing?
Mr. Hill is absolutely correct in his comments. You're going to get an ambulance eventually. Is it going to be inside the city limits? And if it's a priority 1, it's going to be in that magic number, 8 minutes, 59 seconds. And they do that consistently, and they do a great job of it. We want to provide that same service in the county. we know just due to distance, you're probably not going to get in. If you live in the far northwest section of Lubbock County, way out past the shallow water, you're not going to get ambulance 8 minutes, 59 seconds. We know that. And we're not advocating for that. We're advocating for them to send the closest truck, regardless of where the green city limit sign is. We want to make sure that if we're closer, we get sent.
How can this, and I know you had a town hall this past Friday, you had, over 100 people show up to that. So there are a lot of concerned residents about this. UMC, to me, doesn't seem like they're too concerned about this situation. You're concerned about the situation. County folks are concerned. Folks in the city who are closer to y'all are concerned about this. So how do we get to a resolution, and what do you think a resolution would look like? And has the county or the administrators at UMC, are they open to changing anything from what you've seen?
Well, we hope we can at the end of the day, get to a good resolution for our patients. I do believe that UMC eventually will sit down and visit with us to find out how we can do it. We're going to have to put titles, egos, political agendas aside and make sure that we're dealing with the common core issue, and that's the care of the patient.
Yeah.
I believe we can come to a resolution. I'm not sure what that resolution is going to look like, whether it be UMC covering the entire county or whether incorporating these county services back in. Right now, West Carlisle took the biggest hit. We do firmly believe that eventually all these periphery cities will get some sort of hit.
The county commissioners, what's been the reaction from the county commissioners?
Well, we've not got a whole lot of response. We had Mr. McKay and Ms. Jones out to our town hall meeting. They answered the questions to the best of their ability. I believe that they have a little more authority than they're letting on, to tell you the truth. I hope that they exercise some of that authority and stand up for their constituents.
Do they seem concerned? When I was reading through some of the statements, it seemed as though this was a brand new issue for them, that they didn't really know what was going on. Was I reading that wrong?
If you read that, that was wrong, because we had notified the commissioners that 18 months ago, this was probably going to be an issue. Ms. Jones was the representative on the steering committee for county EMS, and she was told all along this would not affect the county at all. And unfortunately, that they're calling it, unknown circumstances. That this happened. This was an outlier that we didn't predict would happen. However, most of us county directors saw the writing on the wall that we knew this was going to happen. As the city goes, so does the county.
So they're going to get more answers for you guys?
Well, they're going to put us on the agenda for the Lubbock County Hospital Board meeting on July the 10th. I have a lot of citizens that they have contacted me repeatedly asking if that's going to happen. So we're holding their feet to the fire. We want to be on that agenda, if nothing else, to open the dialogue to find out what we can do to resolve this issue. After
July 10th, you think there's going to be another town hall meeting just to inform, so that, keep people informed? I mean, this is, I know, a passionate issue for obviously you, but also for those 100 people showing up on a Friday for a town hall meeting, folks. That's pretty good.
We were very pleased at our turnout. And yes, we will hold a town hall. You follow us on our Facebook page at West Carlisle Fire EMS or Fire EMS, and make sure that you stay abreast of the situation.
All right. Chief, thanks for stopping by today.
We appreciate you having me.
Absolutely.